Hey, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are going to talk about how we deal with feelings of burnout and even a little bit of frustration whenever it's the time of year everyone is getting out of school for the summer. And a lot of times as moms who are parenting our special needs kids, we really don't get that kind of lull in that downtime that we often find for typically developing children because we continue doing therapies and all of these other things that we're using to support our children. And so sometimes that can leave a little bit of a feeling of burnout and just disappointment that we're not able to follow that traditional pattern of having a little bit more free time and just a more relaxed feeling that comes with the summer for a lot of families. So let's just talk about it. Welcome to the Special Kind of Motherhood podcast. This podcast is for moms who are parenting differently abled children. Maybe you desire to switch to a more natural lifestyle to improve your family's health, but you have no idea where to start. You're longing for more routines and time, but every time you try to implement those tips that you've spent hours researching, you realize that they don't work for your family dynamics. Hi, I'm Ashley. In this podcast, we will focus on implementing routines, switching to a more natural lifestyle, and uprooting those old mindsets that are keeping you stuck, so that you can plant yourself firmly in the truth that Jesus offers you. Our focus will be on creating small, customizable changes that will build upon one another over time to create real impact in your life. If you want to hear from a mama who has been raising several children with special needs and who knows how important it is to do this in a way that's sustainable and that doesn't add to your overwhelm, then this is the podcast for you. Pop in those earbuds, reheat that coffee for the third time, and let's go. Okay, so I just want to start by saying, first off, if you are noticing that you're having these feelings of frustration or just feeling very burnt out by keeping up with a therapy schedule, whatever kind of outside resources that you are using to support your children, and you're noticing that everyone else is very excited and celebrating summer break, oh, we're going to do all these fun things with the family, and you find that you are still stuck to a therapy schedule, I think it's completely normal for that to bring up feelings of disappointment and just kind of weariness in us as we're coming to this realization that we really don't get these summer breaks or these times of more of a lull in our schedule that so many other families have. So first and foremost, I just want to say that that's completely normal, and I just want to validate the fact that is a very real struggle. It's something I have also come up against in my life, and it definitely can leave you feeling more burnt out and honestly just sometimes even angry that your schedule in your life doesn't line up with what you're seeing other people do. And some of that can get into that comparison and us just accepting the fact that our life does look different from those around us. And I think that that is also just a process of growth and of just a process that we go through along this journey as we are parenting our children. So I just want to first acknowledge that and say you are not alone at all in these feelings, and it's completely normal. And so the other thing I want to say is it really does depend if you are in a public or a homeschool setting. And so something that I have found to be beneficial for me is that we actually also do year-round schooling with our homeschooling, because that allows us more freedom and we can actually take more breaks throughout the year and keep a bit of a lighter schedule because we are doing school year round. And so for me, I've found ways to actually, because we're going to continue doing therapy anyways in the summer, so it really makes sense for us to just also continue to do school. And on top of that, I have several children who thrive on a routine. So if I can keep it as consistent as possible, it's just easier than us completely stopping any kind of learning for 3 months and then picking it back up. We also have more of a style of like lifestyle learning that we incorporate into our schooling. And so it just makes perfect sense for us. So for me, it has just been very beneficial to find the benefits of the fact that we are homeschooling, and I get a lot more freedom in that realm as far as picking our schedule and that type of thing. And then just finding the benefits of, well, we actually get a lot more breaks throughout the year. We can go outside and play outside for several hours every day, all throughout the year. And so just finding the benefits has been very helpful for me. Now, if you're in a public school setting, I obviously can't necessarily give you ideas for that because I don't experience that. But I'm sure that they're there. It's just you kind of getting intentional about what are the benefits and how can I reframe the way I look at this in order to also see the positive in the fact that we are continuing things year round. So I think that's super helpful. And then another tip that I would have is to get creative about ways to still make it feel like summer and to have those times of that more relaxed, laid back feeling. And I have a couple of ideas. This is obviously going to be very specific and it's going to depend on your specific dynamics and your schedule. But I just want to share a couple of ideas to kind of give you some options of things to try and maybe even help you to brainstorm some other things that would work for your specific family. But one thing I would say is if it's possible, switch up your therapy schedule during the summer months to a more relaxed pace. So we actually were going 4 days a week and now we're doing 3 days a week. And so we actually have Mondays and Fridays off. And that really does create a pretty good break that really does help to give that feeling of more of a relaxed, laid back feeling that often comes with summer. So I think if you could figure out a way to either rework your days or possibly cut back a day or so, it depends on how many you're doing. If you're only doing 2 days, this may not be an issue for you. But for us, when we were doing 4 days a week, it would feel like a lot because we would only have Fridays off. And now we're also having Monday and we're going for a shorter span of time. So it really does help with that feeling of feeling like we can enjoy our summer and not be tied as much to a therapy schedule. Another idea that I have would be to find fun activities to do with the time that you do have and enjoy those more like traditional summer activities, like playing outside in the water, eating fresh watermelon. I love to get dye-free popsicles for my kids, and they get a popsicle every day. That's just a fun routine that they have for summer. I want to try making my own, and I have before, but I really have some new recipes I want to try this summer that I want to try as well. But just finding those fun activities that you know your family enjoys. My kids love playing in the water. So for us, every day getting outside, playing in the water, having a popsicle, me getting fresh watermelon, which I plan to grow in my garden, and cutting that up and us enjoying that. Whatever it is that works for your family. Maybe it's going to the swimming pool, like a local city pool. We have creeks around us and rivers, and it might be something like that. We also have family that lives kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and we can go and let our kids run and play and ride four-wheelers and side-by-sides, and that's something we try to do several times throughout the summer because it just gives that feeling of summer and of fun and of being intentional about creating family activities, even though we do continue to have this therapy schedule. Another idea that I have would be to, kind of like I mentioned, make more time in your schedule for outdoor time to actually enjoy the nice warm summer weather, the sunshine, all of that stuff. And then also making time to have people over. This depends on your family. If you have a child who is immune compromised, this may not be possible for you. It might be something that you really can't do, but maybe you could make more time to go out and see people or have like Zoom chats or something like that. But I think just making more time to build community and like for us having people over, it's often very difficult for us to go to other people's homes with all 4 of our children. But for us to have people over to our house where we have everything safe and secure and we know our children are not going to get overstimulated and overwhelmed by a large crowd of new people, that works very well for us. And so you do have to sometimes try things out. It can feel a little bit uncomfortable, but trying out how you can build community in a way that still works for your children, and then really focusing in on that and making that time to spend with other people outside of your direct home. If it's possible. I understand there are some circumstances where it's not possible. And then again, it's just getting creative with other ways to build community. But that's been very helpful for us, is just even a couple times a month, trying to be very intentional about on the weekends when my husband is off work. Let's have people over and my husband will grill and we will have food and kids can play outside. We have a water slide, just all of these different things that just make that fun feeling of summer very, very real on a consistent basis in our home. Another idea that I have would be to take a few small breaks whenever you can for a few weeks, like off of therapy. So if you have something you're wanting to do, or even just you want to schedule out a week where you just don't go to therapy. I think that's totally okay. For so long, I've been doing, I have been taking children to therapy for almost 6 years now. And for so long, I would not take time off. I did not miss unless my children were sick. And I was always there. We were not the people to just last minute cancel. Like, we were committed. We were doing this thing. And the thing that I have learned over time is, well, yes, it is so important to be committed. And I want to make sure that my children are getting what they need. It's also very important for us to have some time to unwind and to relax. And so if there's a week where maybe my husband is on call and he's going to be home a lot more, we will take the week off and we will just stay at home and hang out and just have more of a relaxed week. And I would have felt bad about that because I would have felt like I was letting my kids down for not showing up to therapy. But what I've realized is that this journey of offering my kids support and providing them with the resources that they need, it is absolutely a marathon. It is not a sprint. I'm not going to race through all these resources and suddenly everything's going to be quote unquote normal. That's not true at all. This is absolutely a journey of my children growing and learning and becoming who it is that God designed them to be. And I am absolutely comfortable with the fact now that they are not going to look like those around them, and that's okay. And so for me, it's important that we do offer our children these resources, that I provide them with good quality food, all of these things, but not at the expense of relationship, not at the expense of fun and of having time to relax and to unwind. And so I just want to encourage you in that. If you're that mom who has just started therapy and you're like me, you feel like you can never miss unless a child is literally sick and you're not allowed to bring them because they're contagious, then I just want to encourage you. It's okay if you want to take a week off in the summer and you want to have some downtime to yourself. Even if you can't go necessarily on a family vacation, I know for us, it can often be very hard to travel to new places with our kids. And so we don't necessarily get to go to other states on a family vacation, but we can still make the time to not do therapy, not be having to go leave the house, take a break from school, and just be very intentional about that week. We're going to just have a lot of fun and just unwind and relax. And the thing is, it's important for our kids, absolutely, but it is also important for us. We need the time to unwind. We need the time to not be running this child to this therapy, this child to that therapy, switching kids out. I have done that schedule, like I said, for 6 years, and I'm not complaining at all. I'm happy to do it, but I've also learned the importance of rest, the importance of prioritizing family, of prioritizing time for myself, and of prioritizing my health as well. And I've learned that at the cost of my own health, of pushing myself to burnout until the point that I did have serious health issues and couldn't care for myself. And I don't want that for you. I want you to be able to build in time to rest, time to relax as you go along this journey so that you don't have to get to that point where you're just completely burnt out and you are resentful and you are upset and angry, because that's not the place that we want to be. And it's not that we're angry that we have to take our kids to therapy. It's just a lot of times what it is that overwhelm and that burnout speaking. And that's how it comes out. And so if we can be very intentional about finding ways to reduce that, finding ways to create time for ourselves, and also just finding ways to create downtime, I think it's so important. So just remember that you don't have to push yourself all year long. Find ways to make it light and easy as much as you can, and then just keep going along the journey, knowing that, like I said, this is not a sprint. It is a marathon, and we are in it for the long haul. You guys can do this. I hope you have a wonderful week. Hey, before you go, if you found value in today's episode or you learned something new, would you take a minute to share with someone else that you know would be blessed by it? I would also love it if you would leave me a review. This lets me know that you're enjoying the show, and I love hearing from you. You can connect with me further over on Facebook or Instagram. Until next time, rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, and be constantly in prayer. Romans 12:12.